right, guys, 8-1. Here we go. All right, guys, let's label our triangle. We're going to use capital letters for the angles and then corresponding lowercase letters. So like across from angle A will be side A. Across from B is little b. Across from C is little c. And then the law of sines formula is just sine of angle A over little a is equal to sine of angle B over little b, which is equal to sine of angle C over little c. So it's not the most complicated formula to memorize, okay? It's pretty easy. No. Any triangle. So guys, we've had, in the past, you've always been able to use SOHCAHTOA. Hey, guys. Christian. In the past, we've been able to use SOHCAHTOA, like to find missing sides and angles, but that only worked in right triangles. Law of sines will work in any triangle, okay? Right triangles, equilateral, obtuse, scalene, all the different kinds that you learned in geometry, okay? So let's try one. We are going to round angles to the nearest degree. And sides to the nearest thousandth. How many places is that after the decimal, guys? Okay. 3, yes. All right, so let's say you are given that angle A is 75 degrees. Angle C, 60 degrees. Side B is 34. All right, so we're going to label our triangle. So angle A, I know, is 75 degrees. Angle C is 60, and side B is 34. So we're trying to find all those missing parts. So angle B, side A, and side C. All right, guys, so then we just set up our proportion. Well, and even before that, do we know what angle B is? 45. How do we know that? Yep. Triangles always have 180 degrees in them, so we know this. So you just have to pick if you're going to find side A or C first. I'm just going to do A alphabetically. So I'm going to set up sine of 45 over 34 equals sine of 75 over little a. So how do we solve that for A algebraically? What do I do? Yeah, cross multiply. Are we fine with jumping to A equals 34 sine of 75 over sine of 45? You guys with me there? Okay, you get to use desmos the whole time in this unit. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. Desmos makes it really easy to store values, which you're going to need to do. So I'm just going to literally type in little a equals, and then this whole 34 sine 75 sine 45. You should be getting 46.445. If you have something really different, go over here to this little wrench and make sure you're in degree mode. You do not want to be in radian mode. Okay. So you guys get out your laptops. Yeah. You're going to need desmos the whole time today.
Are we going to desmos for like the test?
Yeah, I'll limit you to one tab, and if you don't have a school laptop, like if you don't bring yours in that day, then I'll make you sit somewhere special where I can, you know, stare at your screen. So maybe bring your school laptop that day. Mm-hmm. Because we're doing, like, the angles are all in degrees, right? Anybody issues getting to this 46.444? Okay. Right, I'm going to go back to the notes part. To find side C, you're just going to set up the ratio again. You could use 75 in the A we just found, but you cannot use rounded little a. Okay? In Desmos, because if you put it in like I did, maybe, you've stored that value as little a, so you could do that. But we don't need to use this side to find C, so I would just go back to a very similar equation to what we started with here. So sine of 45 over 34, this time equals sine of 60 over little c. So you guys try to find little c for me, and let's see how it goes. Once you've got it, check with your neighbors, see if you agree. All right, guys, what do we get for C? 41.641. Anybody issues with that? Need to see it in desmos, or are we good? Okay. Let's try again. All right, you guys will do this one start to finish. Same rounding rules. Angle B is 20 degrees. Angle C is 25 degrees. And side C is 8. Talk to each other, guys. Do you agree? There. Okay. Silently staring at answers. All right, guys, what do we get for angle A? 135. What about side A? Yep. And side B? Okay. All right, how are we doing so far, guys? Okay. We've just got 2 left and then a reminder of angles of elevation and depression. And that's it for notes today, okay? All right, A is 42 degrees. C is 21. We hope not. Or, you know, base jumping, parachute, something. So that's why the degree symbol is important with it. Yeah, because it is hard to tell. Are we ready, guys? Okay, angle B, what do we got? 17, side A. And side C. Yep. Okay. We like unit 8 so far? Okay. All right, one more of these, and I'm going to give you just slightly different info in this one. Let's say angle A is 63 degrees. Side A is 11 and side C is 9. We're going to do this one together, at least the first part of it. What's different this time?
You're not giving to
Yeah, I only gave you one angle, so we can't just automatically find all the angles. So we're going to make our picture. What do you think we have to find first this time? Yeah, angle C. Otherwise, you're going to have multiple variables going on. So I'm going to set up sine of 63 over 11 equals sine of C over 9. So we've got 9 sine of 63 over 11 equals sine of C. So I'm solving for the angle. What do I have to use to solve for an angle? Inverse sine. Yes. So on desmos, let's see. You are going to type this in. And we definitely need to actually store the answer this time. So I'm going to say big C equals, and arc sine is the easiest way to type it in. What do we have? 9 sine 63 over 11. So you're definitely going to still round the angle to 47 degrees when you write your answer, but to find the remaining angle B and side B, you need that full decimal answer there, the whole thing, okay? What do we do for angles? Do you remember what I said? I did say nearest degree. Angles are always nearest degree, okay? Sides are where you're going to do nearest thousand. Okay, so we're going to write down 47 degrees. We need to find angle B next, and then side B will be the last thing we find. So if I go back in the desmos, how can I find angle B? 180 minus, what was it, 63? And C, don't do 47 degrees because you will be off on your answer for side B where I ask you to round to the nearest thousandth. Okay, so that's why I'm telling you store C, and then we can just type in the C. So again, for what you're going to write down as your answer, you're going to round that to 70 degrees. But when we find side B, we need that whole decimal, okay? So side B, you're going back to setting up that like sine of 63 over 11 equals sine of the angle B that you know over little b. Are you guys fine with entering in B equals 11 sine of big B over sine of 63? Does that make sense to you guys? You don't want to type in 70. You will be off, okay? That's the biggest mistake I see on this unit test is just messing up the rounding because you use a rounded answer. So we should get 11.616. Did anybody need questions on the desmos or how to key that in? Okay, so slightly harder if I only give you one angle, but not that bad. It's still just following the same equation. Okay, last thing in your notes. There you are. I don't know, your friend climbed a mountain, cliff, something. I don't know. They're hanging out up there. When you look up at them, that creates an angle of elevation. Everyone's always good at this one. We know angle of elevation. Angle of depression is the one that everybody messes up. Angle of depression is not this other angle in the triangle, okay? It is outside of your triangle. Back to geometry, do you remember the whole, if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then alternate interior angles are congruent? Some of you just like visibly cringed when I said that, but that's okay. That is where the angle of depression is. And it is always congruent to the angle of elevation. So these are always the same. So when you're trying to set up some of those word problems and you're drawing the picture, if it's like weird where the angle of depression would be, just put it where you know the angle of elevation is. It's the same measure, okay? You guys remember that somewhat from geometry? All right. We have a lot of time left, so that's the end of notes. We're gonna do, yeah, I told you notes were super fast. Happy day for notes. So guys, we're gonna do 2 quizzes. The first one is pretty quick on just lob signs, and then we'll do one on angles of elevation and depression just to make sure we're good with that, okay? So partner up. One of you should have the quizzes up and one of you should have desmos, okay?